Hello, everyone. It is Friday, September 28th. This is Kops Office Hours. I am your moderator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. There are a couple of items on the agenda, but if you do have anything you would like to add to the agenda, please do so. And do write your name, although it looks like everyone has written their name in the attendees list. I think otherwise, I will kick off on two relatively quick updates, and which I'm sure are on people's minds, which are that the work for 111 is continuing. I think we had to do a rebase on the Kubernetes 111 branch, I guess. We do that every time we update Kops to the new releases, and as part of that, we update to Kubernetes 111, and there were some changes required, so that's been, I guess, the big item. But otherwise, I think we're getting closer to releasing Kops 111 alpha, I guess, and then we'll go through the normal stabilization and validation process. So hopefully, we're trying not to put any significant new features into Kops 111, so it should be hopefully about 2 weeks, we'd guess.
Is that
the other thing is motivated by that statement, the obvious question is, why do we have to rebase Kops on the latest Kubernetes release every time? And I think one of the main reasons was sort of the work to use API machinery, and something that actually is about to happen in Cluster API is that they are moving from the aggregate API server machinery to CRDs, which are sort of a little bit more lightweight and don't have as tight dependencies on the, or have a more stable API in terms of from the Kubernetes release. So we might be able to get away with not rebasing every time onto the latest Kubernetes, and if we did, it would be hopefully an easier rebase, or vendoring is actually what we're doing. And so I think Jason Price, I think, put together a PR, I guess, 2 weeks ago about like updating the status of Kops server to the being that it is on sort of stalled, which is accurate. I think that there is hope, which is if we move that to CRDs, I think it will make our process a little bit easier and may actually unstall or unblock the Kops server effort. So particularly with Cluster API moving to CRDs, there's not a lot of point in us not also moving to CRDs. It shouldn't affect the usage of the Kops command line tool, the Kops CLI, at all. The only difference would be that we might be able to run it on a server, or in fact, you can run it on a server without even, and do that pretty easily. Like CRDs are actually pretty cool. You can register a CRD against your Kubernetes server and get an extra type on there, and you don't have to do you don't really have to do anything. And they appear as like real API objects to the clients mostly, and that is increasingly true with each version. And there is a pretty strong work stream happening in Kubernetes to make CRDs comparable in functionality to what you would get if you did sort of the full API machinery. And that wasn't the case when we started along the API machinery or API server route, or Kops server route. So I think that's a good path, and it looks like Cluster API has proven the way and is going to move to CRDs and enjoy the benefits of that. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or questions on those two items. Otherwise, Elena, I see I have once again failed you. I apologize, but I am going to. I'm definitely going to do it. Probably immediately after this meeting. I'm guessing this meeting is not going to carry on for much longer, but we will see.
Is that Spotted?
Yeah, it's adding Spotted is the cloud provider.
Oh no.
Gotcha. I'll take a look too.
I am so sorry. I realized I was totally on mute, so I might have been talking over people. I apologize for anyone I was talking. I saw Elena, you go. So if I spoke over anyone, please go back and speak up. I apologize for anyone I spoke over.
I just had one quick question relating to the updating of each Kubernetes version. Is that why we're throwing all those strange errors in the testing?
So there is a weird error about like watch failed to sync. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that one is odd. I have a meta theory. So that was introduced. There was a PR that went in that turned what was previously not an error condition into an error, and specifically that error. I'm not fully familiar with what it means, but it's something about like the watch, you doing a watch and it not being fully ready, the cache not being fully ready, and it became a hard error instead of a sort of softer error.
Gotcha.
What I don't know is whether that's because we're using etcd2 still so we're now testing 113, which will remove support for etcd2. Hasn't yet done so. And so I want to get us able to run etcd3 there so we can actually say this happens with etcd3 or this doesn't happen with etcd3, because that to me is like the big question is, like it obviously isn't affecting configurations that are using etcd3, and so technically we are now testing an unsupported configuration that will shortly be removed. So we have a roadmap for that.
Yeah, but I think those are we still should be testing some of those situations, because there's going to be people that have clusters that are going to still be at etcd2. So we should definitely have both those exercised.
Yeah, I agree. I think in 113 etcd2 will be removed. So you will not be able to run etcd2.
But do we lose the ability to test anything of a previous version with Brow?
We don't. So if you see those errors on, so we should have, there are different E2E jobs. They all run as sort of post submits. So in other words, they don't run on PRs, but they run on a sort of hourly basis or whatever interval we set. And those we can, we can test Kubernetes 1, 2 if we wanted to.
Got you. Okay, cool, perfect. So we just need to expand some testing. There's definitely some need for increasing our tests.
Exactly. So I think we should continue to test etcd2 with Kops and Kubernetes 110, 111, and 112 for the foreseeable future. But at the moment, the plan of record is 113 is going to remove that support for etcd2. So and it hasn't yet happened. My hope is that PR, I think that PR is only against the 113 branch. I don't have any other way other than to, I guess I can talk to Wojtek who wrote it and figure out if he knows what's going on. But I wanted to try to get etcd3 running because I'm pretty sure it's going to be related to etcd3. Either that or it's just a timing issue, which they're also hard to track down. So I would like to be able to narrow it down to etcd2 versus etcd3 as well. And yes, Elena, I'm sorry. I will update the PR. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they would like to cover.
Hey, hi, I'm Ram. I've not attended any of these before, but I'm a former Googler and I've spent a fair bit of time before and other things. So I'm super excited about Kubernetes and the fact that we now get to try it at our company, a smaller company. But one of the things about our architecture is that we are super cost sensitive. And so the ability to run on spot instances is kind of paramount to our infrastructure. So that's why I wanted to underscore the importance of this particular PR. We want to use Kops because there are other ways to run Kubernetes on Amazon, but we really want to use Kops because we want to have the flexibility of moving to different cloud providers maybe in the future. And so that, along with the combination of wanting to run our infrastructure on spot instances, really makes this one PR very, very important for us. I know it's probably the most important thing for Kops, but for us, it's critical. So that's maybe why here, hopefully, we get a sense of are there things that are that we can do to help make that go faster. We can reach out to Spartans if there are things blocked on their side. We're kind of in between two parties here. There's Spartans and there's Kops, and we're kind of in between that we need both. So that's basically what I wanted to get a sense of. If there are things that we could be doing proactively to help move that along.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concern is that the PR is quite large, and Elena helped me understand your use case previously.
Okay.
And the other thing that's coming is integration with the cluster API or the machines API, which should effectively take a lot of this code out of Kops across all providers. And so that is a tempting like.
I see.
It's yeah, it's going to happen, but it's not happened. I think like I've been waiting on that as well, but I think it's not going to happen as fast as we want it to. So I think we're going to have to move forward with this. Like I think we should figure out some way to at least get this in, even if we don't want to envision it being here for the long term.
I think I am inclined to agree with you. I think like
I think that the cluster API is going to be like a major refactor for Kops. I think it's going to really change things quite a bit.
Yeah, it's actually really so. It's pretty nice in that at least for nodes with cluster API, you can more or less add nodes to an existing cluster wherever you find it, like more or less with like very little integration. So that's nice. And sort of from the Spot instance point of view and cost savings, I'd imagine the majority of your costs come from nodes rather than from the masters. But I agree, Eric, that we should probably like merge this and look at some stage deprecating the in-tree support for Spot Inst, for AWS, for GCP, for all of them in favor of the cluster.
Correct. Yeah, I think we should move forward and then come back and so that we can let these people test it and get keep things moving, and then we'll do a big refactor, probably around 114.
Yeah, exactly. Once we're done with the CD mess, the other argument I guess in favor of that is that then it sort of acts as a proving ground for a cluster API implementation. Hopefully, we can take a lot of the Kops code, and if there's no other cluster API implementation, we can create a cluster API implementation from it.
Yeah, I've been talking to those people a bunch about that, and they've been saying, what's going to happen to Kops? What's going to happen to Kops? And I say, we're supporting it. It's not going away. Like this is, so we're committing, or at least I'm committed to it. So let's.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that all the stuff in Kops will become more like we follow this pattern for everything, right? That we take the logic that's baked into Kops and split it into like more reusable components, like cluster API, etcd manager, add-on management, all these things. Does that make sense? Spot Inst people?
Yeah, yes, I was just trying to follow the discussion, but I wanted to understand in terms of the decision, is it that you're going to wait for a cluster manager, or is the plan to just go ahead and review?
Let's get your PR taken care of. Let's get it done today. Justin and I will take a look at it after this call and give you any final comments. We'll try to get it merged as soon as possible, and then as cluster API sort of solidifies and is better defined, then we can start to work on that. And then we'll have you refactoring Spot Inst and everything else. But it should be hopefully we'll have sort of a template, because it should be relatively similar for each of the cloud providers.
Yeah,
we hope so.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Sorry to continue politely.
No, I appreciate it, Elena. Thank you for keeping our feet to the fire. I don't know if there's anything else on the agenda or anything outreach status.
So this is a sort of a meta topic, or it's a sort of a half topic. We are in discussions with Paris and the other, not sure what the SIG is, but it's like community involvement. We're trying to get an intern, an outreachy funded intern. And so we are in communications. There's a possibility that we're coming into it a little bit too late, but we have something, like we already have sort of a draft proposal in there, and I'd like to. I was thinking about making sort of a again outreach or a community directory in our repository, where we could have things like this, like which would serve as sort of a way to refactor some of the development, getting involved documentation, as well as make it more accessible to the community. So. Hopefully we are not too late. That's TBD. I actually pinged Paris just a few minutes ago, and I'm hopefully going to get a response. So I'll let everybody know when I hear something. But if you hear me asking about it or any of it, Chris has been really helpful with that. Chris and Mike have been super helpful with that as well. So we've been sort of pushing that forward. And anybody that is, if you see us looking for help on that, we would very much appreciate it. So
that'd be great. There's nothing else on the agenda. If anyone else, we can open the floor to questions, and I will try not to turn off my speaker this time. I apologize again. Or anyone have any topics? Otherwise,
I have a question, a general question. So for in Kops, there's a Kops update cluster, and it gives you kind of like a diff. And I saw like Kubernetes. Kelsey Hightower somewhere on the internet was like, oh, hey, we're gonna do kubectl diff at some point in the far future. So I'm just like wondering, like, how does Kops update cluster kind of fit in with this new way of doing it?
Yes. So the kubectl update shows you a diff, which is more like a Terraform diff in my mind. So the kubectl diff on apply is new functionality, hasn't existed before. We've tried to be like kubectl in general. This would show you a diff of Kubernetes objects, and kubectl diff will show you a diff of the Kubernetes objects, or kubectl apply. I don't remember the syntax, but it will show you a diff of the Kubernetes objects. So it would show you, in our case, clusters and instance groups and I think secrets.
So instead of like manifests of like deployments and services and such, you'd end up with cluster API, or not cluster API, cluster spec diffs. It's basically the deal.
My internet's crazy. My question was just like, I didn't know if there was like going to be implications on Kops. Like those things are partitioned and separate and function differently. I guess it's the question.
They are, yeah. So they're basically completely separate at the moment. It is. It would be nice to, I guess, one way we could do it is we could materialize the Kops tasks as Kubernetes API objects, and then, so in other words, so today, for example, you change a security group, and we have a task called security group, I think, and we show you the diff based on that. If we made security group a Kubernetes API object or a CRD, then we could use kubectl diff to show you that. Honestly, it would be a ton of work to do that right now, but that's sort of what Machines API is doing.
That's kind of the direction we should go anyway. Is there a way that we can do that incrementally? Like, it sounds like a terribly tough process to do it all at once, but to kind of do it, do one part at a time, or is that just break everything?
So it would be a incredibly fun hack session to take our task, convert it into a CRD, and then take the task reconciliation logic and put it as a controller.
Yep.
I think it would actually work. It would be interesting though, but it's actually really interesting, meta suggestion that you've made there, Elena, which is we should, it is, and Eric, it would be great. Could we do it for could we pick IAM or something, or security groups, or I'm trying to think. It would be fun to try. We're going to try it anyway for machines, right?
Yeah.
With the Machines API, so maybe we could do something there.
Yeah, I think we should start playing with it anyway, because we're going to need to figure this stuff out and at least develop a strategy for cluster API, because it's all going to kind of reflect this pattern in one way or another. So.
The challenge is going to be we want Kops to continue to run without a server. We don't want to require a Kubernetes API server in order to run the Kops command line tool. Maybe we could get away with running it embedded or something, which is sort of what the cluster API does. If we decided that's a requirement, but in general, we want to be wary of assuming the existence of a Kubernetes API server to do this. But we can do what we do today, which is that we essentially run it in memory, and it has. This is where some of those dependencies on the latest version of Kubernetes comes from. Is the fact that we do run these things in memory. But it would be. I think it's a great direction. It is complicated, but it would be a great hack and exploration to take on. If anyone is feeling inspired.
I owe you a pull request about load balancer draining. So I'm going to start there first, and then maybe we can after that happens.
It would definitely be a complicated one. It might be. I don't know if people are going to KubeCon in Seattle. It might be fun to try it when we're there, or for anyone that is there.
Yeah, we should definitely have a Kops get together there, in addition to the SIG AWS, I think, because I don't think we did one in Austin, did we? I missed it if we did.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did a sort of hack type. We did a sort of PR type session, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the call has gone out yet for Seattle. I guess I'll also talk to Paris. All right, and if there's nothing else on the agenda or nothing else anyone wants to bring up, then thank you all and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Enjoy your weekend.